I want to share something that happened to me about 2 years ago, something I still think about whenever I'm driving late at night. It's one of those stories where, even now, I'm not totally sure what was out there with me. But whatever it wasn't good. So, I had just left a family reunion. It was pretty late, close to 11 p.m., and I had a 2-hour drive ahead of me. I didn't stay the night because I had work early the next day, so I just wanted to get home. The route I took was mostly back roads, the kind that look straight out of a horror movie. Tall, dark trees on both sides, barely any street lights, and dead silent stretches where you feel like you're the only person left on the planet. About 45 minutes into the drive, I felt this sudden wave of exhaustion hit me. Not the normal kind of tired, the kind where your eyes sting and your body feels like it weighs 100 pounds. I knew I wasn't going to make it the full 2 hours without either falling asleep or doing something stupid. The problem was there wasn't anywhere safe to pull off. No gas stations, no rest stops, nothing. Just endless woods. So, I did something I know was stupid. I pulled over onto the grass behind a thick patch of bushes, trying to hide my car from anyone driving by. The road wasn't completely empty. I'd pass a car every few minutes, and I didn't want someone stopping to check on me or worse. I glanced at the time before I leaned back. It was 11:22 p.m. I remember that clearly. Then I was out. I don't know how long I slept before I heard it, this light scratching sound, like something brushing against the metal of my car. I opened my eyes, still half asleep, and looked at the clock. 11:50. The scratching stopped almost immediately. I told myself it was nothing, probably some small animal. I was way too tired to care, so I shut my eyes again. The second time it happened, though, that's when things got weird. I woke up to the same scratching sound, but this time, it didn't stop. It was steady, slow, like someone dragging their fingers across the side of the car. It was 12:40 a.m. now. I sat there, completely still, listening. My first thought was the same, an animal. But the longer it went on, the more wrong it felt. Why would an animal come back almost an hour later? And why would it be scratching instead of moving around? Curiosity got the better of me. I leaned forward and checked my rearview mirror, squinting through the darkness. And for just a split second, I saw something break into a run and disappear into the tree line. I didn't see a face. I didn't see details. Just the shape of something upright. Something human-sized. My mind instantly jumped to the classic hook killer urban legend. The one where a couple hears scratching and later finds a murderer waiting outside their car. I know it sounds dramatic, but in that moment, half asleep on the side of a deserted road, surrounded by woods, it didn't feel dramatic. It felt very real. I decided right then that I was done. I turned the key, started the car, and got back on the road. I hadn't even gone 100 yards before I came around a bend, and that's when I saw it. Another car, parked off to the side of the road. Driver's door wide open. Interior lights on, but nobody inside. I slowed down, instinctively trying to see if maybe the person needed help, but as far as I could tell, the car was empty. No movement, no sound, just the open door swinging slightly with the breeze. Then, and this still gives me chills, I looked at my rearview mirror again. Nothing at first. And then all at once, this guy sprinted around the corner behind me. Full speed, arms pumping. He ran straight into the middle of the road like he'd been chasing my car. He started yelling at me, screaming, actually shouting things like, hey, get out of the car. Stop, get out of your car. Now. He was waving his arms like a maniac, trying to get me to pull over. For a second I froze. I didn't know if he needed help, or if I was about to become the next missing person in some true crime podcast. But then he took a couple steps toward me, fast, and something in my gut just flipped. I floored it. In my rearview mirror, I saw him get smaller and smaller before he finally stopped running. He just stood there in the middle of the road, watching me drive away like he was furious that he didn't catch me. I didn't slow down again for the rest of the drive. My hands were shaking on the wheel the whole time. I didn't see another person or car until I hit the outskirts of town. I never reported it. I don't know if I should have. And I still have no idea what that guy was doing out there, or if the thing that scratched my car was even the same person. But every once in a while, I think about what might have happened if I'd opened my door. If I'd checked outside the first time I heard the scratching. If I'd slowed down when that guy started screaming at me. And the worst part? Sometimes I wonder if he was alone. Because whatever I saw running into the woods earlier, it didn't move like the guy chasing me. And I don't think it was human. A few summers ago, I went for this late-night bike ride with a friend of mine. It was one of those warm nights where it feels like the city is asleep, but the air is still buzzing with leftover heat from the day. We hung out until around midnight and then split up to head home. I only lived about 2 blocks away, an easy ride. I'd done it 100 times. Because of construction, the road was torn up, so I had to ride on the sidewalk. It wasn't a big deal. Nobody was out. The whole street felt dead. Just the occasional sound of my bike tires rolling over the concrete and the steady clinking of my chain. I was maybe a minute away from home when I saw him. This man, walking alone on the sidewalk ahead of me. He looked like he was in his 40s. Scruffy but not homeless. Just a little rough looking. The sidewalk was narrow and I didn't want to startle him by suddenly riding up behind him. So when I got within about 6 feet, I called out, "Hey, behind you." He turned around, and the look he gave me was angry. Not annoyed, not startled, just pure, sharp hostility. It immediately made me uncomfortable, so I slowed down and turned left onto my street. I figured that would be the end of it. But then I heard footsteps speeding up. Then I heard yelling. I glanced back and saw him following me, fast, shouting at me at the top of his lungs. Stuff like, "You fucking cunt. I'm gonna kill you. You better stop right now." He wasn't drunk. He wasn't slurring. He was just furious, out of nowhere. My stomach dropped. I live right near the corner, like only a couple houses in, and the last thing I wanted was for him to know exactly which house was mine. So instead of riding home, I just kept going. I went around the block like I'd planned it that way all along. I remember feeling my pulse in my ears. My hands were shaking just holding the handlebars. I kept trying to listen, trying to figure out if he was still behind me, but it was so quiet. Too quiet. I wasn't sure if I'd lost him or if he'd slowed down, or if he'd cut across the block somewhere. When I came back around to my street, I slowed down just enough to peek down the sidewalk toward my house. I wasn't expecting anything. I honestly thought he'd wandered off or stopped yelling at me. But then I saw him. He was standing on my front stoop, right in front of my door. Like he knew. Like he somehow knew exactly where I lived even though I never stopped, never hesitated, never looked toward the house. He was just staring out at the street, perfectly still. Almost like he was waiting for me to come back around the corner. And when he saw me again, he didn't shout this time. He didn't move. He just looked at me, followed me with his eyes as I rode by, slow and silent. I didn't go home. I didn't even think about going home. I rode straight back to my friend's place, heart hammering the whole way. I locked my bike by their back gate, went inside shaking, and told them what happened. They let me spend the night on their couch, and I didn't leave until the sun was up the next morning. I want to say that was the end of it. That the guy disappeared after that night and I never saw him again. But that's not exactly true. 2 days later, I went by the house to grab my bike, and it was gone. Someone had stolen it right out of the alley behind the house. No witnesses, no camera, no sign of forced entry on the gate. Now, I'm not saying it was him. I can't prove anything, but I can tell you this. My neighborhood has a large population of people dealing with mental illness. It's just the reality of living near downtown in a medium-sized city. So at first, I told myself it was probably just someone having a moment, someone unstable, someone who latched onto the fact that I startled him. But then I kept thinking about how he reacted, how instantly angry he became, how he followed me screaming threats, How he ended up standing on my exact front step even though I never led him there. And the more I replayed it, the more wrong it felt. Like he wasn't confused. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't wandering. He was purposeful. Like he knew right where to go. I texted my mom that night explaining everything, and she decided not to call the police until the bike was stolen. But even then, nothing came of it. Just a report. Just a shrug. But here's the part that still creeps me out even now. I've passed dozens of unstable people downtown before. You learn how to recognize the signs, the talking to themselves, the pacing, the strange behavior. But that man? He didn't look unstable. He didn't look lost or confused or disoriented. He looked normal. Very normal for the area. But when his eyes locked on me, there was something in them that felt like he wasn't surprised at all. More like he was waiting. And sometimes late at night when I walk past my own front steps, I still picture him standing there in the dark, staring out at the street, like he expected to see me come around that corner again. And the worst part is, I don't think he followed me by accident. I think he followed me because for some reason, he already knew exactly who I was. A few years ago, I had one of the most surreal and terrifying experiences of my life. And the strange thing is, nothing about it felt dramatic in the moment. Just felt wrong. Like something was happening in slow motion and my brain couldn't catch up. It was early morning, around 5 a.m., and I was walking to my bus stop. It was still dark out, the kind of dark where the mist hangs low over the streets and the street lights look blurred at the edges. I remember eating a banana and thinking about something stupid, like whether I should get my Starbucks before or after my commute. Just a normal, half-asleep morning. I got near this dimly lit corner at the end of my street, the kind of place where the shadows always feel a little too thick. That's when a tall man stepped out of an alleyway to my left, completely in black. Black jacket, black mask. The kind of mask that hides everything but the eyes. I was tired, still waking up. I barely even reacted. But then he shouted, loud enough to echo down the block, "Put down your fucking purse." That's when I saw the gun. It was pointed directly at my head. Everything in my body woke up at once. My heart felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. My hands smelled like banana and sweat, and suddenly I couldn't feel my legs. He barked another order. "Put down your bags." I said the only thing I could think of. Okay. I'm putting them down over here." I set them on the sidewalk and tried not to make any sudden movements. My voice sounded tiny, shaky. I tried to show him I wasn't resisting, wasn't doing anything stupid. He ordered me to walk toward him, toward the alley, and yelled at me to get on the ground. "Get down on the fucking ground." And I said, "Okay. I'm coming, okay." Because what else was I supposed to say? I knelt down in the dirt and gravel at the mouth of the alley. My breath was coming out in these short, uneven bursts. My mind was trying to think of a way out, but every logical thought just bounced off the fear. I kept talking. My mouth wouldn't stop. "See? I'm on the ground. My stuff is over there. You can take it. Just take it." He didn't like that. "Shut the fuck up." He got on top of me, pressing me into the ground. The cold metal of the gun pressed against the side of my head. I could hear him breathing, fast, angry. I could smell his jacket. I could feel gravel digging into my palms. And then something changed. I was dressed like a guy that morning, huge baggy pants, a jacket, a hat pulled low. I was on my way to coach a high school practice, and I basically looked like a 90s teenager. If not for my voice, you might think I was a kid. As he looked at me, really looked at me, there was this moment, barely a second long, where the energy shifted. I can't explain how I knew, but I knew the exact instant he realized I was a woman. He paused, got off me, stood up slowly. Then he pointed toward the alley, deeper into it, and said, "Come with me." My stomach dropped so hard it felt like it hit the ground before I did. Because I remembered something I didn't want to remember. My neighborhood had been experiencing a string of sexual assaults recently. And not at night. In broad daylight. I looked down that alley, that disgusting dark stretch of wet asphalt and overflowing dumpsters, and something in me screamed, not out loud but in my head. My internal voice, the rational, self-preserving part of me, said, "There is no way in hell you're going down there." Another voice snapped back, "He has a gun. Don't be stupid. Don't do anything." And then there was him, the real voice, screaming, "Fucking follow me." So I did the only thing I had left. I talked again. "I'm coming. I'm following you," I said. And for some reason, he believed me. He made one crucial mistake. He turned his body and the gun toward the alley. I took one tiny step backward, then another. He didn't look back. Not once. This was it. My only moment. I took a deep breath, tucked my head down in case he fired, and sprinted. Full force. My legs moved faster than they ever had in my life. I heard screaming, a high-pitched wail, before realizing the sound was coming from me. I ran 6, maybe 7 blocks before I even looked behind me. I didn't stop until I reached my apartment building. And even then, I circled around to make sure he wasn't anywhere near. I didn't want him to see where I lived. Hours later, the police checked the alley. He was long gone. The only evidence left was my banana peel lying in the dirt. The adrenaline didn't fade for days. Even now, I still think about the what-ifs. What if he didn't hesitate? What if he didn't realize I was a woman until later? What if he hadn't believed me when I said I was coming with him? I'm lucky, unbelievably lucky, that the what-ifs are all I have to deal with. Because the alternative, I don't like imagining how that story would have ended.